Hi everybody, this is Michael Hildebrandt and I'm your host on the Sleeptrust podcast, where I'm talking about how to gain back trust in your ability to have a superb sleep again.
In this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast, we're going to talk about the Millennial Sleep Fix. So every generation has its own challenges, and if you are born somewhere between 1980 and 2000, then you belong to the generation Millennial. And today we're going to have a look at what is going on in regards to sleep when it comes to this generation, which is not that far from mine, and what you can do to actually improve your sleep, improve your health. So this one is in particular interesting for you if you are a millennial, or if you know a millennial, or maybe if your kid is a millennial and you just want to find out what you can do to kind of support your friend, your kid, or even better yourself, to get back to superb sleep and to a happy and balanced life. But before we walk through the sleep fix, let's have a look at the generation millennial. Let's have a look at the specifics, because it's super important. If we want to change something, it's always kind of like a journey, and you have to know where you are right now if you want to move to a destination. And our destination is to feel good, feel balanced, have a superb sleep. So let's just assume for a second that you listening to this podcast right now are a millennial. Then it is highly likely that you got brought up in an environment that told you that you can basically achieve anything you want in life. The only thing that you have to bring into the equation is that you have to work hard enough for it. And this is probably the reason why you're growing up in one of the most competitive generations that were ever out there. So you're feeling high demands from the outside, but also from the inside, because you know that it's basically your responsibility to get the life that you want. And you're also the first generation that grew up with this technology boom. So even when I was a kid, there were no such things as smartphones. There weren't even cell phones out there. They came up, I think, when I was in my teens somewhere. So you're the first generation that uses these technologies kind of naturally, because they were always there. They were always around you. And this also speeds up your life because you're always available. You know, you're only a split second away from checking your WhatsApps, your messages, your emails, whatsoever, Slack, you name the platforms that you're in. Facebook, of course. Did I forget the social media channels? Oh, but by the way, when we're talking about them right now, if you are not already following us on Facebook and Instagram, go there, check us out. You'll find us when you search for @Sleeptrust. Follow us, and we're spreading tons of content, and it's a good place to get in touch with me. But don't try to check these things when you should be lying in bed sleeping. So that's not what I want you to do, but you can hit the pause button right now, check it out and follow us, and I'm sure we're going to spread tons of content that is interesting for you, and also content that will help you to get rid of sleep challenges if you have them right now. So definitely check that out. So I think you can hear that I'm super proud and excited about our social media presence. But let's come back to the topic again. The next big thing that millennials carry on their shoulders is the amount of debt that they have on average. So according to CNBC, if you are between 25 and 38, then you have $42,000 of debt on average. And that is a huge amount. And especially if you think about that, not everybody has debt and others have more than 40,000. So that is a thing that is a big stressor in life. And if you look at why people get divorced, the main reason are finances. And the last thing that I want to highlight here is that millennials want to experience as much from and of life as possible. So work hard, party harder kind of theme, and experience as much as you can. And this can also lead to stress. And particularly if you think about, everything that you can see on social media, this is the competition thing even going on in private life. Who has the best lifestyle? Who can, drive in the best car? Has the fanciest holiday, and so on, and that builds up additional stressors. So listening to all of this, the challenges, work hard, party hard stuff, how long do millennials sleep? And this is actually the big surprise of the podcast. On average, of course, millennials sleep over 7 hours again. And this is good news because you should have between 7 and 9 hours of sleep on average. This is not a one fits everybody thing. It's a very individual thing. So you have to listen to your bodies, everybody out there. See if you feel good the next day. That's the indicator, not what the National Sleep Foundation or other people tell you what you need for sleep. But it's a good indication that millennials are sleeping more than Generation X. And, we could say there is no problem out there, but that's not true. I think if you have high challenges, you have to sleep more. And looking at these numbers, I'm kind of a little bit skeptical if the sleep is the high quality that other generations had. Because if you get these challenges, you might not sleep as well. You might be stressed a little bit more, have a little bit more light sleep than deep sleep, and so on. There could be other things going on that you really want to consider. So let's walk into the sleep fix for you millennials out there. First off, I'm going to give you my personal opinion, how I find the millennials to be positioned. Because I believe that you millennials out there have a wonderful positioning. You know that you can achieve anything that you believe in life. You know that you have to work, put in the effort to achieve things. You also know that you want to experience things on this wonderful planet. And you're trying to bring everything together. That can lead to stress, of course. I think the biggest drawback is the concept of competition. Honestly, I believe that is a thing that the generation has to learn, that it's not about competition, it's more about creation. Of course, you always have to compete on a certain level, but the majority of what you do should be creation, should be supporting others. And that way, that will take just so much stress, anxiety out of life. Also, the concept of work-life balance, which isn't invented from the millennials, but kind of a major concept, is a misleading one too, in my opinion. I believe there is no such separation like work and life. You only have one life, and you should do what you want to do the whole day. So if you're stuck in a job that isn't suiting you, and you're only doing it for the money, the competition, the recognition of others, stop doing so. Stop. Think about what you should do, what you want to do, and move slowly into that direction. So when I say stop, I don't mean to quit your job tomorrow. I mean that you move into the direction that matches your strengths, that you move into the direction of doing things that are enjoyable for you and that you're perfectly good at, and to be willing to take compromises in the beginning. So you might not find a job that pays you the same salary. You might have to have longer travel till you get there than you do with your job today. But start moving into the direction of doing what you want to do, doing things that match your purpose more than this may be the case today. But this is a very general theme. The sleep fix that you can expect from me and that you're going to get now is more straightforward. So first off, use technology in a different way. Start to get rid of technology in certain times, in particular when you enter your bedroom. So I take my phone with me into the bedroom too, but I use it as an alarm clock, and that's it. When I enter bedroom, before I enter bedroom, actually in the bathroom, I put it into flight mode and turn notifications off. And that's it. And when I get up in the morning, I do not start to look at my WhatsApps, Instagram, Facebook messages, whatever. The first 1 to 2 hours are completely social media free. The next thing that you want to consider doing is to spend time with yourself. You work hard, you party hard, you're in social media, you're interacting all the time. Put your phone away, turn on the music, do something for yourself and by yourself. Maybe have a little self-talk with yourself about certain things. I know you do, everybody does, so might sound crazy, but yeah, we have our self-talks, and these are actually super important. So take your time to relax, settle down, and take time with yourself. And the next thing that you should consider doing is to have a healthy nutrition. Going out, eating stuff is okay, but sometimes it might be good to have something healthy at home too. I'm talking about vegetables, about fruits. You might even consider cooking on yourself from time to time, maybe on a weekend, and that will certainly improve your quality of overall general life quality, but also the quality of your sleep, because if you eat fresh vegetables, you're going to get more vitamins, magnesium, calcium, everything you need for a good night's sleep. Also, try to stick to a regular sleep schedule. It's not a good idea to sleep 6 to 7 hours in the week and to max that out to 10, 11 on weekends. So try to avoid these big swings in sleep duration. It's okay to sleep a little bit longer on weekends, of course. If you sleep an hour longer, that's fine, but don't get it too extreme. You're just going to confuse your inner clock, which is going to lead to a mini jet lag on Mondays, at least. And it's not going to be good for your overall health anyway. So avoid that. And that was my last sleep fix tip for you as a generation. I personally have a big belief in you as a generation. I think you're positioned just so wonderful. You know that you can achieve anything. You know that you have to put in the effort. And if you tweak your lifestyle in terms of maybe partying a little bit less, maybe taking a little bit more time for yourself, maybe getting rid of the competition just a little bit more and expanding out on creativity and supporting others, then you will have just such a happy, fulfilled life, probably much happier than any other generation before you had. And you will be positioned for superb sleep. And that's what I wish for you. And with that, we're going to wrap up this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast. Millennials grew up with technology, are highly competitive, have a high amount of debt on average, and a misleading concept of work-life balance. The average amount of sleep that a millennial gets is over 7 hours, which is an improvement to previous generations. To further improve your sleep and personal well-being, move more from competition to creation, consider modifying your concept of work-life balance, and find slots where you can replace technology time through spending time with yourself. And that's it for this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself and that you tune in next week when we are going to talk about sleep paralysis. Until then, have a superb sleep.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Sleeptrust podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to get further information on this podcast or material that will help you to gain back your sleep trust, please check out sleeptrust.eu. That's sleeptrust.eu, where you will get lots of information around sleep. And here comes some legal stuff. Everything on this podcast is my opinion only, so do not take it as an advice, as I am not a doctor, nor have I considered your personal situation. If you feel that you need medical advice, please consider getting an appointment at your doctor of trust. If you want to give me any kind of feedback on this podcast, feel free to email me at podcast@sleeptrust.eu. I hope you tune in again next week, and until then, have a good sleep.